All right, welcome. Today we're talking about the Brown sound. So to me, the Brown sound is anything from the first 2 to 3 Van Halen albums, but the sound that I'm going to talk about today is more specifically Van Halen 1. So in the later albums, you'll notice Eddie's tone gets a little darker, which is cool too. But for me, for my ear, for my taste, I've read interviews that Eddie actually didn't like Van Halen 1's tone that well. I love it because it's so trebly, and I love that like ear-piercing, high-endy, non-jumpered tone. So this is going straight into the input one. So this is going to be my interpretation of that tone from Van Halen 1. Now, there's literally thousands and thousands of theories and speculations online. You can go on the forums and just spend days figuring out who said what, who was there, who saw this, who said that, and what Eddie said and everything. And so it's kind of like a never-ending rabbit hole that you go down, and there's so many theories on what was actually used and how it was used. So this is just my version of that. There's plenty of different other methods to approach that sound, but I think I got pretty close with this setup. So I'm gonna run through it really quick. So first of all, a really cool part of this is the Keeley Abbey Chamberverb. It's a replica of a real reverb chamber room from the 60s. Something that would be kind of similar to the Sunset Sound room that was used for Van Halen 1. What's really cool about this is that it has an EQ switch, and you can actually choose to target specific frequencies of the reverb, which I haven't seen in any reverb pedal so far, not that I'm aware of. And so what that lets you do is that lets you keep the reverb up a little bit more than you normally would, and it doesn't get it so much in the way of your notes when you're playing. So let me just play a chord. So while you're playing, there's plenty of reverb there, but it's not so muddy that it just completely wrecks the notes that you're playing. So I thought that was super cool, and it's so useful for recording, and you don't have to use an actual room. It's a pretty close approximation. I tried to get it close to what the room size was in Van Halen 1. Which seems to be about right. And I've been A-Bing in my DAW between the original guitar tracks soloed and my tones. So that's what I've been using as a bass. Specifically, I'm the One as my bass for this. So also, you need to be aware of, it was EQ'd. The album was mixed. So there is a difference between what the amp sounded like in person and then what it sounded like after it was recorded in your stereo. So right now I have it the way it was mixed coming out of the cab, which is what I wanted. Now take that, and now I'm going to take the EQ off, and I'll show you the settings in a bit. But if you have headphones on right now, or if you have your speakers on really loud, right now is the time to turn it way down, because this is going to hurt. So here we go. This is a Plexi, just stock. No EQ. EQ on. So yeah, it's a pretty big difference. It's just meant to tame those super highs that would just rip your ears off. The Van Halen one tone is very bright, but it's not unusably bright. It's about as bright as you can get a guitar tone before it's completely useless. And that's how I have set it up to correct that here on the MXR 10 band. 4K, 8K, and 16K, which is the top 3 bands, I've reduced by 6 dB, and that's it. And then I have the bass reduced 31 and 62.5 are lowered by 6 dB, and that it's a graphic EQ, so it's kind of dragging down 125 just a little bit since it's not parametric. So that's for the EQ. This is in the effects loop. This is first, and then it goes out to the reverb, and so you get that clean reverb, both in the loop. And then up front, you can see there's pictures online of Eddie's blue MXR boost that he used. It's debated whether he used it or not on the recordings. For me, I personally think he used it on only 2 tracks. I think he did use it, but he only used it on I'm the One and on I'm on Fire, I think. That's what I hear. I hear that fizzle, that extra fizz on top that this has when you boost it, and specifically how he had it. And there's pictures, you can find close-up pictures of the blue pedal. This is a new one, it's fine. There's YouTube videos out there of people comparing it, the old one versus the new one. They sound pretty much identical. So you can find the settings. I found the settings and I put them on there, and it's basically just a huge boost in 800 and then a pyramid going down. And that's it. Everything on 10. I have the volumes on 8. Everything else on 10. I like 8 just because it's not as compressed. There's also theories that he had it on 8, not really on 10, but who knows. But I personally for me, I like it on 8. It's you get the power tube distortion, but you don't get so much that it chokes out the chords. So if you put it on 10... It's a little bit too much squish. So 8 is just perfect. Yeah, so I think, but for the rest of the album, I think it was without the boost. So. So who really knows, but they both sound great to me. It's got tons of gain anyway once you crank the Plexi, boost or not. So that's basically it. Keeley Chamberverb, reverb, MXR 10 band in the effects loop to tame those ultra highs, and then the boost up front for added mids, and that gives you all the sustain. Try to play like Eddie, but this project has given me a little excuse to have some fun and try that kind of stuff. So, yeah, cool. See ya.